name is Michael Brodie. I've been living in Israel since 1981. I came here from England, having been in practice in the UK for some years, and since that time I've been in practice here and qualified as an Israeli CPA. The Israel Business Connection has asked me to join them in presenting you with a short summary of the UK and the Israeli tax laws which are relevant to people coming to live in Israel, and generally regarding Olim Chadashim, new immigrants, and also returning immigrants, those who used to live in Israel many years ago, or maybe were born in Israel and left at a young age. Since 2008, a new law was passed by the Knesset which greatly improves the benefits available to people who make Aliyah or returning residents. In fact, this new law is retroactive to 2007. The Israeli tax year starts from January the 1st and runs through to December the 31st. This new tax law was made retroactive to January the 1st, 2007. Anybody who came to Israel, either as a new immigrant or a returning resident who had been out of the country for many years prior to that date, were given a great advantage in that they were given full exemption from Israeli taxes for a period of 10 years, not only on income tax but also on capital gains tax. This means that any overseas income arising and any gains arising offshore Israel in that period of the first 10 years are totally exempt from Israeli taxes. On the other hand, of course, local income is taxable in Israel from the day you arrive there. So it is very important to take full advice from a person qualified to do so regarding maximizing the tax benefits available under this very generous legislation. So we are talking about a full tax exemption for all of your overseas income and gains for the first 10 years. As regarding income arising in Israel, you also have a great benefit in respect of new immigrants of 20 years exemption on a foreign currency deposit account which is called a Patach account. This is a foreign currency bank deposit with an Israeli bank made here after you arrive, and as long as the foreign currency is deposited in a closed account for at least 90 days at a time, then any interest arising on that account is fully exempt from Israeli taxes for a period of 20 years from the day you arrive. There are similar benefits for returning residents, but I will not go into this at this time. You must clarify that with your bank. I also want to clarify the question of general taxes in Israel on investment income. If you want to bring your money into Israel and invest it here, you will be faced with a beneficial rate of a maximum of 20% of the income payable as taxes in Israel, and this is done by source, withholding tax at source, and is normally done by the bank or the financial institution with which you place your money. If you compare this with the UK, where the top rate is double that, 40%, then there is a great advantage in having the money invested in Israel. You can choose whether or not you feel you can make more money overseas and have the full exemption, or invest in Israel and pay the 20%. I also want to mention, especially for people coming from the UK, the fact that there is no estate duty in Israel. Whereas in the UK, as you will know, you have inheritance tax, which is taxed at 40% on any capital above the exemption level, currently at £320,000 per person. So you have to endeavour to create a situation whereby you move what's called your domicile from the UK to Israel. This can take a few years to do so, but once you have established non-UK domicile, then you will avoid this penal tax charged by the UK tax authorities. However, you must bear in mind that any assets you retain in the UK, even if you become non-domiciled, will be subject to the UK inheritance tax should the assets be worth more than the exemption amount. When moving here, there is one matter which may concern a lot of people, and that is if you want to try to continue running your business, which you have had overseas, after arriving here. Now, in principle, as I have previously said, overseas income does not interest the Israeli tax authorities at all. However, you must be careful, because if you are the sole proprietor of the business and you move here, but basically you continue running the business from Israel, then the income is deemed to be arising in Israel, and the Israeli authorities may well try to set aside the exemption that you would otherwise have. On the other hand, if you have a business overseas with an office, with employees and general management overseas, the risk is far less, if at all, as regards taxable income in Israel. But you must take serious advice before you come and consider this matter, because otherwise you could end up in a serious tax situation. You could in fact be in the position whereby the authorities in the country where the business is, i.e. the UK, USA or Canada or whatever, will seek to tax the income arising locally, and then the Israeli authorities will follow up and say, well, you have a business but you're running it from here and therefore you have to pay tax here. I must make one other point regarding people coming here, and that is the question of Bituach Leumi, national insurance. When you arrive here, even if you have no income, you have to register with the National Insurance Office, the Bituach Leumi office, in addition to Kupat Olim, the health fund. If you have no income at all, then you will be charged a basic rate of health insurance, mas briut. However, there are certain circumstances where your income will also be chargeable here, and this must be followed up because the rates can vary between 12 and 16%, and you would not want to have a surprise without taking advice in this matter. One final point which I want to mention is the possibility of trying out Israel without committing yourself from a tax point of view. In the new legislation which was passed in 2008, the possibility was given of registering for a year of acclimatization. If you register and apply to the local tax office for this status, then you have 1 year in which to decide whether or not you want to settle here. In that year, the Israeli revenue will enable you to leave the country without any tax implications at all, and without having effectively moved your tax residence to Israel. This is a great advantage to families who want to come and try out the land and see whether or not they can make it from all points of view. And if they don't, unfortunately, and they have to leave, then they will have done no damage as regards tax status with the Israeli authorities and with their offshore authorities, which will continue as before, as if they'd never left their country of origin. I just want to finish and say that I wish good luck to anybody who wants to come to live in Israel. It's a great country to live in. There are pitfalls in moving to any country. You have to take proper advice, but I think long term you'll find that you'll have a great time living and making a life in Israel. I'll be pleased to meet with anybody, give them half an hour of free advice under the arrangements with the Israel Business Connection, and I wish you good luck.